Hello, my brothers and sisters. Today, we want to welcome you into the Nothing But the Raw Truth podcast. Today, I am your host, Dr. Bruce A. Smith, here in the studio again. And we are so excited to be back in the studio today. And I have my sidekick, brother in Christ, crazy friend, Brother Robert Mileage. He is a good brother, good friend, and we are going to have a good time talking about coping in the world in which we live today. It is so many things that are going on today, and we have to learn how to cope with it. We have to decide for ourselves that we're not going to allow any of this crazy nonsense going on in the world today to hold us back or to keep us down. I know it's right. But we're going to go ahead and get into this thing and talk about coping in the world today in which we live. I don't know about you today, but when I think about coping in this world, it is so many things to look at. We had a good podcast a week or two ago talking about the same subject, and this is part two. And so with part two, we're going to talk about a little different things, and we're going to go a little higher on this thing because it ain't easy to cope in this world today in which we live. Brother Mileage, you got anything you want to say before we go on into this thing?
Yeah, I want to say how good it is to be back in the studio here at BBS Podcast Station. Boy, it's been a while. Just coping away from the station has been a challenge.
Yeah, had withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah,
something.
So it's good to be back home again.
Yeah, today we're going, as we get into this topic, coping, because it is not easy to cope in this world today. There's so many things that's going on. We find in society a lot of people are not getting the things that they need, and the basic needs sometimes. Our people in the world, we got a lot of homeless in the world, and we got a lot of people that have psychological problems, mental illness. When we look at our prisons today, we see you can probably say about 40%, at least 40% of the people locked up today have some type of mental illness, and the prison system has turned into a place where they house the mentally ill instead of getting them the real help that they need. So, and when I think about that area of life in itself, that is hard for a lot of us to cope with. God forbid that anything happen and any of us have to get incarcerated for a while, but I believe that people, I don't care what their situation, they should be able to get the help that they need. So when I look at this thing and think about coping with our situations, you have to acknowledge that things are changing in the world. You got to acknowledge things are changing in our lives. If we don't do that, how are we going to be able to cope with a situation if we don't acknowledge that things are changing? That when we look at our surroundings, I look at when I was growing up, it was a lot different from today. So I have to adjust my thought pattern and how I even communicate with people, because today we don't communicate in the way that we used to. Even in the churches, we don't communicate. You find people in the church texting one another in the pews. So it's just crazy. But realizing this, that all change ain't a bad change. Some change is good, but some good change has a bad tone to it, because even think about the stress of a job. Coping with the stress of a job, that it could be a good thing you got the job, but coping with the stress of the job, in the job, sometimes it makes it hard. So it's just so many things that we have to look at. Think about this. Coping with some of these irregular schedules that we have to keep as we go through life and go through situation after situation. We find ourselves in a situation where our schedules can cause situations where it's hard to cope with what's going on around us. What you think, man?
Yeah, I agree with. Let me read this definition, if you don't mind. I know there's many facets of definition for the word coping, but I like this one. It means coping means to face and deal with responsibilities, problems, or difficulties.
Right.
And I like this, especially, here's the underliner for me, successfully or in a calm or adequate manner. Okay? In other words, with all the changes,
right,
that some changes we cause, and then some changes cause us.
Right.
We're ever evolving. And notice what he says, to be able to face and deal with responsibilities, problems, or difficulties, especially successfully or in a calm or adequate manner.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like when we have that shock of change, you know, and boy, it can cause some how you say it, irregularities in your life.
Irregularities.
That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you.
Yeah.
How did you get that word over there?
That's why they call me doctors, man.
Okay. Irregularities.
Yeah.
Right. Because it moves us from our comfort zone.
Right. Right.
And we all want to be comfort.
Right.
You know, as they said, by the time I get it, you know, to the bar, they raise it higher.
Right.
And that is a reality that we just have to deal with.
Well, we have to understand this too, because the world system raises the bar higher doesn't mean that we have to fall into the trap. And that's what a lot of things happen. We get so caught up in the trap. You look at even as the tech world changes, you know, they use media itself to attract you to new tech gadgets. You know, we get the stress of, you see a new phone come out, a new tablet, a new laptop, all kinds of things that we see that we put undue stress on ourselves, and it's sometimes it's like it's hard to cope with not having things. We get so caught up in things in this world.
When you talk about technology, and especially now at this season,
I'm in trouble sometimes when I see something else come out.
And for me, I'm not a tech person, so you know, Christmas to me is just, it's more tech than anything now. You know what I'm saying? If you're not getting, if it's not a new flat screen TV, it's the new iPhone.
Folks don't even hardly watch TV no more.
I know.
Unless it's on the phone.
Right.
Yeah. Well, like the other day, we were watching the football game.
Last night. Yeah.
But when we look at coping with things, man, it's just so the world has changed. Even in life, you have to. Sometimes when we get older or go through situations, we have to cope with even changing our diet. That can cause stress. That can cause a struggle. Yeah. Dealing with changing the diet when you used to be I used to be carb junkie. And I wanted junk, man. I ain't want nothing that's made sense.
What?
Sometimes it just
right now
that can cause stress.
I'm not stressed right now because I never thought I got to lose weight.
Yeah.
I'm normally at 155, 160. Right now, I'm at 200 pounds.
Wow, fat man.
And a lot of that is fluid from the medicine. I'm not fat, you all.
I didn't say that.
I'm not fat.
But you said it. You brought it up.
I am not fat. I just said I need to lose weight. And nothing's wrong with fat. I mean, I just,
lay off the muffins.
I'm not going to go there with you. You're not going to take me there.
Hey, we got to have a good time.
I know. But anyway, Anyway, so I got to work on losing weight, man.
Right.
You know, and I'm not a person that normally exercises.
Right.
When I used to play basketball,
Right.
you know, that was it. You know.
He did something.
Yeah. and I just bought a, you know, what do you call it?
Gym membership.
No.
Oh, one of
I can't think of what you call it. You know, I got an order. It's an order track.
Yeah, I know what
you get on there and it's like with the ski motion and everything.
That thing, it works hard, boy.
Man, what you talking about? What? And I named mine Lassie.
Who?
Because Lassie, I didn't want to think Lassie, just like the dog Lassie. See, I didn't want to think in terms of exercise. I want to get on this machine and have fun. I got to need to take Lassie for a walk. That's my psychological, because I'm not an exerciser. Lassie.
Okay.
Yeah, Lassie. What do you call it? It's not a treadmill.
We'll remember it later on. We getting old.
We.
But you know, you talk about it. You talk about exercising and stuff like that, coping with the changes in your body. Your body changes constantly. Your body's changing. So as you get older, sometimes the things that you thought you could do, you can't do no more. And then some of the things that you want to do, it takes more effort. So
you got that right. Yeah.
You need to be out. We need to be out exercising sometime. And I'm just thankful that here lately, excuse me, we just got another gym membership, and it getting back in there has helped me to get my flexibility back. It's starting to relieve pain. Exercise helps to relieve stress. Help you
elliptical.
Yeah, elliptical. Yeah.
I have an elliptical.
Yeah. Okay.
And really, right, it's just for 15 minutes a day, right?
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how hard it is to find those 15 minutes.
Well.
And it's right there in my
You just don't want to get on it. Get that 15 minutes of work, boy.
I get on there and I ask Alexa, give me some smooth jazz, you know.
Yeah.
And I know about 4 smooth. I don't look at the time. I know about four songs at 15 minutes. You know.
What kind of song? You say jazz?
Smooth jazz.
You like jazz?
Love it. Smooth jazz.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Smooth jazz.
Yeah,
it's smooth, man.
Smooth on that elliptical.
Yeah, I got to, man.
Rough on the muscles.
I got.
Oh
man.
But we got to joke a little bit, but we are so changing so much in so many ways as human beings, realizing that coping with a lot of things, exercise is good for us. It's a good stress reliever.
But let me say this though: we were talking last night, and I thought about it today. A good relationship with someone.
Yeah.
A really good dating.
Right.
I thought about, now married, I still date my wife, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I thought about prior to getting married.
Right.
Prior to marriage, me and a young lady probably be
right.
together maybe 2 or 3 years.
Right.
Dating. And for those 2 or 3 years, I'm locked into this individual. Right.
Right.
So, to me, if you can find someone to spend time with, just a good relationship. You know what I'm saying?
We need a good support system.
Right.
We need to seek out people in our lives that's gonna. They don't have to do a lot of special things, but someone you can communicate with.
Right.
That helps you to cope with situations. Because, and one thing I come to understand in today's society, we don't want to trust everybody because there's so much going on. And so if you get that 1 or 2 people that you can communicate with, whether it's daily, once or twice a week, to help you to deal with some of the situations that we go through, or just to have someone to bounce things off of.
Right.
It helps you to cope with things in life much better, because it's when you even just looking at the news, it can become depressing because so many things are messed up. So many things are going in a negative. When you look at the news and you hear about all these people getting killed and everything, drive-by shootings, and when you look at even people get shot on the highway,
Let me let me see drive by shootings. Now, um, if people find somebody
Right.
that's that it, I mean, I was just reading something a minute ago, but how you find time to get your life involved in that kind of scenario? Why?
Well, you got to learn to understand that we are all not the same. We all wouldn't raise the same. We all not in the same community. So sometimes our circle, not just necessarily friends, but that our surroundings can cause us to be or to get into some things we may not would have gotten into, or
Yeah,
you could have been raised in that type of environment. So
true that. True that.
it's easy to say how do you get there, but you looking at things from your perspective. We have to look at things from everybody else's perspective sometimes because we're not all raised the same, not all in the same neighborhood environment, not in the same social setting. So it's so much that we have to look at and to get an understanding. And I'm learning more and more that it's not for me to judge somebody or to condemn them. It's if I could help somebody, that's what I should do, or encourage somebody.
Let me say this: you're absolutely right, and and I just have to agree with everything you just said. So I just want you to know I agree with everything you said.
But what? Woo!
I'm through with that, man. That's what that means.
Have you ever, been in a situation of going through some things and you don't know what to do?
Oh yeah.
You feel like the world is dragging you down, and you don't know how to get out of that, what I call that circle that you're in.
Right.
What I'm learning to do sometimes, what you can do that helps, is to write down the positive things that you see going on in your life or surrounding your life. Don't focus on the negatives. If we focus on the positive things, then it'll void out the negatives because what you connect with is more of what you become. Because if all you do is look at things, or all we do is look at things in a negative, then the negative will come out, or we'll focus or concentrate on negative. But if we concentrate and focus on positive, then you can be much more at peace. You can have more joy. You can have better focus when you focus on the positive instead of the negatives in life. So it's just one of those things that it's important for us to do. And something we got to do. We got to get proactive on things. We got to be stretching out to go in the right direction. To realize that there's some things that we got to cope with, to deal with in life. But if we get proactive and say, okay, these are some of the things I want to accomplish. This is my goals. Okay, although it might be hard or difficult, sometimes we might have to connect with somebody that we know are people that are wanting that could help us to go in the direction we want to go. That would be a good thing for us. But we have to be proactive. We can't look at it. Okay, well, this is another dreary day. You gotta get active in trying to press forward, and that helps you to cope with it. Situations. I've been in a situation to where you just feel like you depressed all the time. But when I decided for myself to change my mindset, I seen things to start to go in a different way, and I started looking at things in a whole lot different light. I changed where my focus was, and what we have to do. Sometimes we have to vent about the things that's going on that we don't like, that we don't want to deal with. You vent, get it out. And I learned that when I get it out of me, when I get it out, then I can let it go.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not easy to release a thing, but once you vent and let it go, sometimes you might just have to holler. Go somewhere and just holler and scream and get it out.
Yeah.
And then it makes it easier to cope with things, because when we keep stuff bottled up in us, it gets hard to deal with the situation, and you just it makes you sometimes, it could make you want to get into some type of a rage and say the wrong thing and do the wrong thing.
I mean, you made me think about one line from my old Isaac Hayes song. It's your thing. If you feel like you want to scream, because that's your way of letting off steam.
Right.
Scream on.
Right.
You know, not scream at somebody.
Right.
Just scream.
Right.
Michael Jackson wrote a song, Scream. Sometimes you gotta scream, man.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it. Just holler.
Right.
You know? just wigged out.
Right.
Didn't hurt nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't, you know what I'm saying? Didn't tear up nothing.
Right.
But I needed to release that.
Right.
Because look, stress will kill you.
Yes, it can.
Worrying will kill you.
Right.
You know, and you don't want to isolate yourself from people that care.
Right.
You know, and everybody, and some people really can't express what they feel.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
that's true.
And it's, you know, it's kind of like the saying, some people don't know how to ask for money.
Right.
You know,
I do. Give me some money.
I'm learning. Number one, I hadn't been around a lot of people that could ask for money. So we were all broke. That's why we drank from the same bottle.
You speak for yourself.
Remember we used to hang out?
Boy, you crazy.
But anyway, I mean, you have to.
Right.
You know, people say, people don't want to care. People don't want to hear your problem.
Right.
And some people say, well, I don't complain because, I mean, who really cares? But still, sometimes you just need to just say something.
Right.
Just say something. What's the old saying? A closed mouth won't get fed.
Right.
You never know. You never know. I worked with a fella, and good guy.
Right.
He had some issues going on. He would say things that I just never thought I would hear.
Right.
And I didn't disagree with him.
Mm-hmm.
I learned to say, even when I didn't agree with it,
right,
I would say, you know what? I ain't never thought about it like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I ain't never thought about it like that.
Right.
You might have a point there. And he calmed down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because somebody was listening.
Right. Sometimes we have to get find us a group. Sometimes some people can cope better when they in some type of group, whether it's a men's group or women's group, where they can talk out their situations, their problems.
See, you said something I said about a couple of weeks ago at church, and I think I shared it with you. Lady who's ministering, she really made herself vulnerable, told things. Parents were sitting there, hadn't heard before.
Right.
And I was doing what we call pulpit chairman, I was facilitating the service. And I said, you know, sisters open herself up. And here's the problem that a lot of people have with church. They say we're hypocrites because we come to church and try to act like we got it all together.
Right.
You know.
Y'all don't.
And I thought you went to church too.
We talking about you right now.
Oh. I didn't know we were talking about me.
Yeah, you brought it up.
that don't mean I'm talking about me. But anyway, and I was saying, you know, we're afraid to be transparent.
Right.
And that's what people's looking for. Yeah, I struggle with some things.
Right.
Love the Lord, but I still struggle with some things.
Right.
The old man ain't dead.
Right.
The flesh is not dead. And I know it's something that we have to work on crucifying every day. It is a fight, you know. And I was saying, so we put the mask on. Everything's okay. When deep down inside, you know, we hurt like anybody else.
Well, a lot of times people have been hurt growing up. So once you've been hurt,
Right.
it's hard to say certain things to people because you are.
Before you go,
Right.
I don't want you to lose your thought. This is about me now. This is what I was talking about.
That's the struggle you had. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. But anyway, so
I didn't know you were struggling.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
I help you cope.
Oh, that's okay. I'm doing fine so far. How would you help me?
Well, we'll have to talk about that offline.
See, that's what I'm saying. I want to stay online where I'm safe. Anyway, but you get the gist of what I'm saying.
Right.
And I got what you're saying, so go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you made me lose that train of thought.
You shouldn't let that happen. You're not coping well.
Well, I cope fine. But, sometimes you just have to release it.
Yeah, you really do.
And realize that
excuse me.
When you're dealing with people, we're all messed up. We all have been through something. Anybody to tell you they haven't had any challenges in life, they're usually lying to you. So I found that I try to, first of all, think about what I got going on, whether it's good, bad, and different, and try to come up with a plan to deal with the situation, because sometimes we get so caught up into the problem that we don't see any way out of the problem. And so when we don't see a way out of the problem, it compacts the problem and make it greater because we're worrying about the problem. I've learned this. Every situation that you go through is going to go for a season, and then you'll be out of that situation. Even when you have problems whether it's with health or something else, you have that problem, and okay, maybe you're not figuring out, figure that you cannot cope with it. But I've learned a lot of times you don't have to really cope with it. You just have to endure it till it passes, because a lot of things are just go through like a season, like summer, spring, winter, and fall, and you get through it. And once you get through it, you can move forward. And the things that was the struggle to cope with, it gets better. When I look at even health situations that was in my life that I had to deal with, it was some of it at times it was hard to cope with, but in the end they passed. I got beyond that situation. So that's what we have to do in a lot of situations. We have to realize that you can't change it when you want it to change, but you can deal with. You got to think positive. You got to focus on the good and not the negative, and it makes a big difference.
Well, we were talking last night. It's about laughing. Okay, the scripture said, "A merry heart do good like medicine."
Right.
And we want to encourage. Hey, did we speak to Africa? Did we say hello to Africa or Spain or
They hear us.
Italy?
They hear us.
No, that ain't what I asked you.
I
asked you, did we speak to them?
I ain't been there.
We'll talk later.
Okay.
I want to say to all of my friends across the globe, hello, Switzerland. Hello, Australia.
Right.
Yeah, we're here at BBS podcast.
Really?
Station.
Okay. That's good.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it's good to be here on the Raw Truth with my good friend. Nothing but the raw truth.
So when you get out of line, telling them falsehoods, we're gonna call you out.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question. I know you're not a big fan of social media and all that stuff, but I found
Wait
sometimes.
a minute, why did you say that?
Because you don't ever be on it.
Continue.
Okay. So, you know, a lot of times we get stressed from social media, spending so much time on social media trying to communicate with people that you don't know. They don't know you. We call ourselves friending folks that we don't know, telling business we shouldn't tell, and it makes it tough. You know, sometimes it makes it tough in life coping with social media because we tell so much of our business on social media.
Well, see, that's why I'm not on social media as much. So I don't really, have those problems.
I know, because I don't think you can navigate social media.
No.
The truth be told.
No, I do, check things out.
You got a Facebook page.
Yeah, but I hadn't been on no God knows.
See, I told you.
Yeah, I got a Facebook page, but I ain't been on it God knows when.
You don't have to worry about coping with that, do you?
No, not really.
Trying to coping with trying to hide, I can't figure it out.
I got a LinkedIn page. Yeah.
I know that one's jacked up because I couldn't hardly pull you up.
I'm getting there. I'm getting better.
It's a process.
Yeah, it really is because, the responsibility of being in the public.
Right.
You can't respond to everything. You can't, a lot of people want to be relevant. There was a time, I wanted to learn a little bit so I could be relevant in any conversation,
Right.
And I found out that wasn't necessary. So I try not to have an opinion about everything. Well, if I do, or if it's something I hadn't really thought out, I said, well, let me get back to you on that one because right now I don't want to react. I don't know all what I need to know before I say anything on that. Such as right now, a survey asked me, do I think the president needs to be impeached? I don't know. So I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. So,
I have learned to steer away from some of that stuff because you can spend so much time looking at the news, worrying about the news. I know we got to be in touch, be good citizens,
right?
But
and we also need to be involved as God give us the grace, to be involved in politics and business because, when we talk about the city rejoices when the righteous rule, you can't rule sitting at home.
Well, I ain't finna get into politics.
Oh, me neither.
I don't. That ain't.
I mean, I'm encouraging those that's thinking about it.
That's not my cup of tea.
No, man.
That's not my focus.
Mine either.
I'm not trying to be relevant by doing something like that. So what I found that if you don't watch yourself, you can get on one of these TV networks, and that's all you're looking at. You get home, you don't look at nothing that's on the TV that's going to be constructive. All you do is end up looking at the news, and there's so many people that are getting burned out. Looking at the news, on social media, and there's so many outlets that we are not taking our focus off those things.
Remember the days when what was at the movies, now it's on TV, and you had the weekend to look forward to it. Oh, that movie's coming on Sunday night. Now you can just binge watch whatever you want to watch.
Yeah.
You remember those days?
No. I never been a movie goer. Never really. Okay. Too cheap, man.
Okay.
Now, I understand what you're saying. I'm just joking.
No, you don't, man. No, you don't.
But yeah,
No, you don't.
I really do understand what you're saying. There was a time when we had to wait on certain things that
Right.
came on. Everything's
Like you said about the news. Like,
right.
You catch the 5 o'clock evening edition.
Yeah, I get it on my phone.
And now that's what I'm saying. We can watch it as an app. I ain't got to wait to
watch it live on your phone.
Right. Watch it. Oh, this is live. You know.
Especially on the Apple phone, you can watch it live.
I thought you wasn't gonna do the name brand products and stuff.
I was just saying what kind of phone I
had. Ooh, Apple phone.
I understand. He's the hater.
No, I love my Samsung Galaxy.
Okay. I ain't gonna say nothing about that.
Okay.
I don't talk negative.
Yes, you do.
you
talk negative to me all the time, folks.
It's something you said a little while ago. You talking about laughter. Laughter will help you to cope with situations like you've never seen.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get turned into stuffed shirts that we can't laugh about anything.
Right. We get real deep. It's crazy.
I found that laughter will help you to deal with a multitude of things in life. Help you to get over. It'll de-stress you if you let it. You just let it go.
Medically, it helps. It helps boost your immune system.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just so many things that we can look at in life to help us to cope with things. It is interesting how we go to work every day. Day in and day out, day in and day out. We won't miss a day of work until we get so bound up. We don't even want to take vacation because we're chasing that dollar.
I didn't read it. It was on one of the TV programs about America. Americans have become workaholics.
Right.
They're scared to take a vacation.
Right.
They think they'll lose their job.
Some do lose them on vacation. You come back and it's gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, man.
Yeah. Especially in management. That's why I don't do that thing no more.
Wow, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen that happen several times.
Really?
So that's why some people
feel
like they can't leave their job.
Now, when I was working, we get slow. They ask for volunteer layoffs.
Right.
I never volunteered.
Ooh, I don't
No. Because
I volunteer not to get money.
Right. I don't volunteer. You know, they say, you be laid off for about a week, then you come back, you know.
Nah.
And I'm like, nah, I'm staying here.
I don't need that.
No, man, no.
Yeah,
but I'm taking my vacation.
Right.
You should know if you got your business in order, whether you can take a vacation or not.
Right. How do you, let me ask this, we're talking about coping in society in which we live today. How do you build trust with somebody to be able to communicate a situation or problem that you're having in your life? How do you build trust in a person that you could go to them when you have a situation going on in your a situation going on in your life? How do you do that?
First of all, I look for common ground.
Mm-hmm.
Right off the top, because I feel like whatever our differences is, sooner or later it's going to manifest, and the quicker that we can get to them,
right?
You know what I'm saying? The quicker we can, I know what might offend you, or you don't want to, and so we remove those. We know what those obstacles are, and we kind of like go around it. But it's a willingness to be honest,
right?
And because you got to trust somebody.
Do you?
Yeah, really do. I mean, I'm all for having faith, and that's just scripted. When men talk, it's like iron sharpening iron. I was sharing with a group of men,
right,
that the Bible is not a book about religion; it's about relationships. And from the first book to the end, it's about relationship. And we were talking about covenant relationship, how in the Gentile world, even though, you know, we're not used to that term, covenant. We say it, but we really don't know what that means. A covenant is very serious. When you made a covenant, it was very serious. The Jewish covenant is a very serious thing. You just know anybody can enter into a covenant.
Okay, break that down to the layman's terms. Everybody don't read the Bible.
Okay.
Everybody don't understand what you're meaning.
Sure.
So just break it down where the common person that's not in the church.
Right.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
It's easy to
sure
to just focus on religion, but sometimes we need to break it down to that person that is not religious.
Okay. First of all, once again, the Bible isn't a book about religion. If you can get religion out of it, okay, if that's all you looking for. But when I say it's a book about relationship and particularly covenant,
what does that mean? That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
What does that mean to the person that don't understand what you're saying?
Okay.
Break it down further.
I am. Okay. I don't know how much time we got, but I'm going to do the best I can very quickly. From the biblical terminology of covenant, it's a blood oath.
Okay, what does that mean?
It's not an agreement like, hey, we're gonna get together and we're gonna do this, that, and the other. Okay? You can break that anytime you get ready. But if you and I, according to the Bible, they had what they call animal sacrifices. Two great men would make a covenant. Okay? And those men, before the tribe that they led, okay, they would bring a sacrifice. And the purpose of the sacrifice was a witness saying, hey, me and this man is in covenant. The entirety of the family is in covenant. We're in covenant agreement to look out for each other and do what we have to take to bind together and strengthen each other's family, this, that, and the other. So in the Old Testament, they would bring an animal sacrifice.
Okay, how does that help me to cope with what I got to deal with today?
Well, that would be accepting Jesus Christ and the blood that the Bible talks about that he shed to bring a new covenant. They don't do that
so
now.
Is that the only way is that the only way I can cope with society?
It helps. Now you brought up psychology. Okay. Now, psychology says I'm okay, you're okay. Okay. And that don't necessarily teach you biblical faith. You know, it's like you got a lot of self-help.
What is biblical faith?
Biblical faith is what the scripture says from Genesis to Revelation that we understand and can walk therein.
Okay, walk therein what?
Of the life that God has called us to in fellowship with him. Family. Remember I talked about relationship, having those relationships? We're covenant brothers. You and I. Right?
Okay, but I'm trying to.
No, I got
to help those
yeah.
I can't.
I walked into that. Yeah.
You can't base it on a relationship you have as brothers.
Right. Yeah.
What about that brother that don't know nothing about church, God?
Okay.
How are they going to be able to deal with things and cope until they can get to that point where they may feel that they want to?
Right.
That's what a person needs.
Well, now, okay, you asked me about what a covenant was. I brought that up.
Right.
And I interjected it into the conversation because it's kind of natural for me to do that, and it is for you too. But since I'm the one that walked into this.
Yeah, you stepped into it.
I stepped into it, right? So we say faith cometh by hearing, faith in the Word of God. Okay? You can have faith in faith alone. I did that for years. I'm quite sure everybody has a certain amount of faith. Okay. Now, I mean, that's whether you go to church or not. And really, boy, you want to talk about you want to talk about something that's really priceless, your faith is priceless. I don't want to preach, but I'm just saying the scripture said without faith, it's impossible to please God. It really starts there. Faith.
So you saying that people can't cope unless they have God? They can't make it. They can't survive. They can't get understanding. They can't get clarity. I'm just throwing questions out.
Right.
Because
well, I'm not. Let me say this. The scripture says, there's a way that seems right to a man. Okay. There were things I was doing that just seemed right to me, just natural. And there were really things that were destroying me. Okay.
So those things made you cope?
Yeah, they did. I'm talking about.
Was that the only?
Not according to this definition that we shared earlier. Getting drunk, getting high, getting drunk, going from one person to another, seemed like great coping tools, or even
to you.
To the individual that says, I don't need this faith you're talking about. Okay. There's a worldly faith. Okay. And a lot of us were more familiar with the world's faith than the faith that's described in the scriptures. Okay. Did that make sense then?
What I just don't want you to do is based on what I know.
Right.
Because if you can't break it down to the person that don't know, how you gonna help them?
Well, you brought up a valid point. I walked into that.
Everybody's not there.
Sure.
What we got to do is we got to help a person to get to where they're going, to where
sure.
Because everybody's not going to do it the way we want them to, but we got to be able to help a person to try to be able to cope with whatever they are dealing with in the way that they can get help. And if along the way they do decide that they want to have a relationship with God, then yes, but we still, even if they don't, we still have an obligation to try to help them to be able to understand how to cope with in the society where they live in today.
Sure. That's why I brought up a relationship, like being and then you said, well, some people live on the other side of the track or wasn't raised like that, and I said, well, that's gone. So I'm saying,
because sometimes people, when they hear bad news, they can't cope.
Oh, absolutely.
If I just say, well, you turn it over to God, to somebody they don't know nothing about.
Right.
How is that helping them? Sometimes we got to get people to a point.
Right.
I
agree with you.
Through a point.
Right.
Some of the realities, you think about a diagnosis that say somebody's child gets, and they're sick. How are they gonna cope with that? Say they don't have a relationship with God, they don't know Jesus or none of that. How can you direct somebody that don't know that how to cope with their situation right now?
Right.
Because a lot of times, if you just say, "Well, you need to pray," well, I don't know nothing about this. How's that gonna help me to cope? Something I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I need something that's gonna help me cope right now.
Right.
I can get all this other later on down the road. I need to be able to cope right now because I'm about to lose my mind. I'm about to do something that's stupid and crazy because I don't know what to do, and you telling me just pray. I ain't never prayed in my life. Don't know nothing about prayer. Don't know how to pray. So I just don't want us to get caught up and get distracted and think that because that's what I find that we do a lot. We just say we throw the church thing on everybody and say,
but
they don't know how.
I understand. I understand.
Everybody ain't in the church.
Right. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. We have a broader context and content in what we're doing, and I'm in agreement with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now when we talk about faith, uh, you know, without you know what I'm saying, being able to share our faith, or you know, some things that we read biblically, we believe, and we believe this is the answer to help this person. You know, other than that, we're dealing in psychology, and I'm not a psychologist.
Well, you don't have to be a psychologist to help somebody cope with situations.
You know, so
You know,
no, I know.
because
I'm just saying.
so it's and that's what we want to do: help a person to cope, whether they're in the church or not, whether they're on the streets homeless or not, whether they're in a mental institution or not, whether they're in prison or not. We still have an obligation to help people to be able to cope.
Well, where did the obligation come from?
It comes from inside yourself.
I may not feel that way.
Well, then you shouldn't be on this podcast right now. I got the wrong person on the podcast today. You know, because you think about it, when a person's going through, you know,
absolutely.
I remember when I was going through a depressed period of my life, and you know, I didn't want to wash dishes. I didn't want to.
Right.
I didn't
I've
want
been
to
there.
cut the grass. I didn't want to
Yeah.
feed the dog.
I've been there, man.
Dog be saying, ooh.
I done been there, man.
You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's so many things.
Yeah.
You get to eating the wrong thing, gaining weight,
Right.
You know, because you don't know how to cope. So, and the thing that we know.
But you know what? Though, once again, though, it goes back to what you were saying earlier about having somebody in your life you can trust.
Right.
You can't.
What if I don't have nobody? What do I do?
Now, when I open one door,
I have to ask these questions because we don't always. Haven't always had somebody I could trust.
That's why you got me now.
No.
That's why I'm here.
Okay. But you can't tell me why. Okay then.
That's why I'm here.
But
my friend.
Okay, yeah, all right. I'm gonna leave that alone.
You can trust me.
Yeah.
You know I love
I
you.
need to go get a hamburger, some fries, and pacify myself. Then give me a big box of chocolate, and drown my sorrows.
Oh man. Oh boy.
You know, because you know, and I know I'm being comical and stuff, but
Hey, we supposed to.
it's some things that
Somebody needs this laugh, man.
I always want to be able to cope with the situation, whether it looks good, don't look good, feel good, or whatever. And even when I didn't even have a relationship with God, I had to learn some things to learn how to cope with what I was dealing with in life.
Right.
And when somebody came to me and went to talking about the church, I was ready to say some choice little words.
Sure.
Because I'm going through a situation. I don't know nothing about this God you're talking about, but that's all you saying. You ain't helping me to be able to cope with the situation. So we have to go deeper. We have to deep dive sometime to help somebody, because you know, you look at some of these people that have been in the prison system and they get out and they still going through things because they didn't get things resolved in there. You look at people that have psychological problems and they haven't gotten what they need, so they still can't cope, because when you look at it, 40 to 50% of the people probably in there have psychological issues, and so they don't know how to cope. So if we can't give them something to help them, to guide them, to direct them, then we ain't done our homework. And I have to look at myself, because I had some hard times coping with some things, and because I had no trust in people, I had no trust in the church, I had no trust on the job, no trust in the family, and somehow you still got to get through that. So you have to learn how to deep dive. And
so how did you get through all of that?
How did I get through it?
Yeah. Are you still working through it now?
No, I'm pretty much through it. But how I end up getting through it, I end up just have to decide for myself. I had to realize that I couldn't always depend on somebody to help me to get through a situation. I had to realize that if I'm going to get through a situation, I got to be proactive within myself and realize for myself that this ain't gonna last always. That I got to get through it. And sometimes when you're trying to get through that situation, you don't see the end of it. You just got to know for yourself, this is not my end. And you have to just keep pressing. And that's what helped me to cope with things, because it wasn't the church that got me through it. It wasn't friends that got me through it. It was a deciding within myself that this is not going to be my end. This is not going to be my defining moment going through these situations. No matter how bad, whether it's losing a job, losing a home, or basically almost even being homeless.
Okay, let me ask you this. Because you have a strong will. Mm-hmm. You have a very strong will. What about the person that don't have the strong will? What would you say to them? Because you have a determination.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying?
If you don't have a strong will, you got to decide for yourself. You got to believe in yourself. Because something has to rear up in you to get through a situation. Because think about this. If you don't have nobody to turn to, and you don't have a God in your life, something got to rear up somewhere, or you're going to stay there. So you have to decide, what do you want? I could come with the canned Christian thing is, you need to pray. Well, I don't know how to pray. Man, I was almost getting ready to preach. Well, I really knew what prayer was about. So it's a lot of things. I don't like throwing canned answers to people.
I got you.
Especially after working with people in the prison system. I don't want to throw canned answers at people because it don't help their problem. So we got to, what I call deep dive. Deep dive is get out of myself, get out of my skin, and get into their skin, and realize when you get into their skin, they don't understand a lot of the things that we in the church try to throw at them. But we'll throw that at them, but we don't go deep enough to help them get out of that. So, and I know we're about out of time. This has been probably the longest one we've had yet. And I thought
it was very good.
I want to thank God for this podcast today. I want to thank God for the content, because we've had a good discussion. We're not saying this to be right or wrong for somebody,
right.
But to give you some food for thought. Because had I had something like this that I could listen to get some food for thought, then I could have looked at some things other than just my own communication with my own mind, trying to figure out how I'm going to get where I need to be. Because coping, you think about coping with an illness. Okay, I done had that. Is it hard? Yes, it's extremely hard. Coping with sickness, is it hard? Extremely hard. And then that person coming up to you, telling you it's going to be all right, especially when somebody ain't been through it, it don't always help. So we have to, what I call it, swell up within ourselves sometime and seek out ways of getting that relief that we need. And I just don't want anybody to give up, because it's too much to gain. Most people say you got too much to lose, but I don't believe in that. You got too much to gain by not giving up. By pressing forward, you got too much to gain. So what you got to do is realize you got to press forward so you can get those gains that you need in your life, and that you can be, because I believe this. If we still here, we're here to help somebody, each and every one of us. We got somebody that's gonna cross our path, and it happens all the time. People cross your path. They'll ask you a question, or you just strike up a conversation, and then sometimes you can help somebody, or they can help you. So I'm just excited about what's going on, and I don't know.
Let me say this as we get ready to close. It's good to be back in the studio with Dr. Bruce Smith here at BVS Podcast Station. Right?
Really?
Here on Nothing But the Raw Truth. And I'm Robert Myers from the Thinking Man Podcast.
Yeah, this ain't the Thinking Man Podcast.
On this mic that I'm on now, this is I said from. And I'm a guest here.
So you're saying that you have a podcast called The Thinking Man?
Oh, without a doubt.
So do you think?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I want to say this, and Dr. Bruce is so right on this. And it's been said, as they say many times in many ways, we're here to encourage you, to inspire you, motivate you, challenge you, to not to give up. You've heard it said that the richest place on earth is a graveyard. There are books that should have been written that's never been written because people didn't cope well, and they needed somebody to tell them, we need this book. You may be the person that write the next greatest New York Times bestseller. This one lady on Facebook some years ago, somebody said her writing looked like chicken scratch. I can't remember exactly why. She was kind of depressed about it. She was writing something. I said, your writing looked like chicken scratch. And I wrote on there, it's okay. I read in the Bible.
On Facebook?
Yeah.
You can get on Facebook?
I wrote on Facebook. It's been some years ago. And I said, it's okay. There was a woman caught in sin brought to Jesus, and they asked him what to do. And the scripture said he wrote in the sand. And we still don't know today what he wrote in the sand. And I told her, your writing might be the next great prescription for somebody to read, and you never know. Right. There are songs that have never been written that's within you. There's somebody waiting to hear you. And one of the things I want to thank God for is Dr. Bruce Smith giving me this opportunity to be in studio with him, because I would not be here sitting with him if he didn't believe I had something to say. He done told me, and he's helping me as a public speaker in awareness of what I talk about. And so, I just want to say that in closing. It is our prayer that we inspire you, we encourage you, we make your day. We're here to help people cope with life. And so, back to you, Dr.
All righty. We're going to get out of here, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the podcast today. Excuse me. I hope you all enjoyed the podcast today. And we hope to be doing a whole lot more, a whole lot of other topics. And if you would like to have a discussion about something, or even be on our show, contact us. And you can contact us. It's at bvsgospelnet@yahoo.com. And we will get in contact with you, and we will put something together. And we will see you later. So you have a great day. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell everybody about it. Nothing but the raw truth with your friend, your brother, Dr. Bruce A. Smith in the house. See you later. Bye, bye, bye.